Hey everybody, it's my Marius FPV coming to you from Jacksonville Drone Racing in Jacksonville, North Carolina. I'm going to do some fleet maintenance today. That's kind of what we're working on. And so weather's kind of crappy outside. I don't know if you guys can see it, but we've had rain past couple days and yard's still wet, and I still got a big section in the back that's still flooded out just because it hasn't drained off yet. But anyway, so I have two quads that I have to do some repairs on today and just some general maintenance and kind of go over some stuff. So that's kind of where we're at. And, with everybody, the influx of people that have been coming into the hobby here recently, I don't know if you guys have seen it on the Facebook forums and, you know, um, just a lot of new people just asking for help and building advice and trying to get up and get started and get off the ground. And one of the things that is so important is just going through every once in a while and maintaining your fleet and checking everything and checking the wires and checking the cables and making sure everything's good to go. That'll get you the best performance and, be honest with you, just keep you a little bit happier when you're in the air flying. So yeah, there we go. So the first quad I got to work on today is my main racing quad. So this is my FPV Flight Club Proton R. Really love this frame. It's just been phenomenal. Takes crashes like a champ. It's really holding up. Really enjoy this build. But with that, I was flying the other day, and we had gone to elementary school and was just kind of doing some freestyle. But I did not follow my own advice and did not check my equipment beforehand like an idiot. Because if I would have, then I would have seen this nice little wire break in there. And this was really fun to find as I was flying over top of the school and getting ready to dive down into an open field corridor that they had. And yeah, literally lost power, ended up smashing into the roof. I don't know if you can really see it, but yep, knocked the USB connector off of my flight controller. So glad I had gotten 90% of my tuning and stuff done, because I just really don't feel like swapping out the flight controller today. Probably need to, but it's not going to be today. So today I have to go in and fix my power wires. So I'm going to have to desolder those and resolder some new ones. So as you can see, got new ones. I always keep spares, just because this type of stuff just tends to happen. But if you hadn't been looking and hadn't seen it and hadn't paid attention, it's broke inside the silicone. You wouldn't see it by just looking at it. This is something that you actually would have to go in there and feel the wires and make sure that everything's connected. And I have a break on the negative wire as well. It's right there, about the same spot. So yeah, it's flying along, everything's good. Went to go do a roll, and all of a sudden no power. So crashed right into the tin roof. And like I said, the really only damage was I knocked off the USB connector. And to be fair, it didn't knock all the way off. It had bent it, and I was trying to help somebody else on one of the Betaflight forums, and was going to connect it and pull up the page and show them exactly what I was talking about and what they needed to set and configure. And yeah, realized it was bent, hadn't even noticed it until then, and tried to rebend it back, and in that process it ended up coming off. So everything's still good, everything still works. I just can't connect it to Betaflight. Oh well, could be worse. But yep, that's kind of what we got. So that's quad number one that I got to fix today. So took the top plate off, which was literally just sitting right here, and took the two standoffs off that were holding in my VTX antenna. Just move those out of the way just to make it a little bit easier. So pro tip, not that I'm a pro anyway, but whatever, it's a tip nonetheless. These little motor canister cans, so I got these from T-Motor when I bought my F40 Pro 2s right there for my Chameleon. Bought those, and obviously I have a couple extras over there as well. But anyway, these little canisters, when you're out here and you're working and you got a million different things going on and different pieces laying around, try to keep all your screws and everything together. So I utilize these little canisters. I keep them every time I get them, just strictly for that reason. So yeah, it seems to help a lot. So what I got to do is I have to go in here and I have to unsolder my capacitor. Then I'm going to have to unsolder the actual pigtail from the ESC. And while I'm in here, I did notice, so I did lose an antenna. Honestly, I lost that a while back. So while I'm doing all this stuff today, I just might as well go in here and fix it. Just kind of make everything a little bit easier. Yeah. So that's what we got for today on quad number 1. So here's the pigtail that I removed, and when I say that it was broke inside the wire, it was literally broke inside the wire. And I don't know if I can get a good view of it, but I wanted to show you just how easy, and I haven't put snips on this thing or anything, but yeah, there you go. You can see I literally just pulled it off with my hand. It separated right at the break, which was literally that far down in the wire. Again, wire looks good. No cracks, no splits, no nothing. So gotta check. You guys got to check your stuff. And especially, you know, you guys talk about where you're losing video connection or you have a black screen after a crash. Black screen, usually your VTX is transmitting. It's just not getting signal from the camera. So I don't know how many of these wires going from the camera to the flight controller that I have replaced just because they were broke on the inside, just from crashing. I mean, you guys got to figure all the force that we go, and these are little itty bitty wires, man. They're easy to break, and they're already kind of pinched and squished in there, you know, especially as these builds get more and more compact. So just something you got to think about. So one thing about this build is the battery cable, the pigtail, the XT60 pigtail going to the battery was always just a little bit short. And that probably contributed to the break, to be honest with you, just kind of where I was just forcing everything together. So what I would like to do is I'm going to make this one just a little bit longer, and this is just the standard size that they come before I cut it down and pre-tint it. But I'm just going to make it a little bit longer, so I'm literally probably just going to cut it probably about here. Just because I need a little bit more length, but I don't want to leave the whole thing up there, just because when I crash or bend props, I don't want it to end up actually catching my my main lead coming out. So I'm just going to leave it a little bit longer and then cut it and pre-tint it and then solder it up there and put the capacitor back. And got them stripped. So gonna pre-tint them obviously before I put them back on the quad, and I'll re-tin the pads just to make sure I have a good solid connection and make sure I'm not hitting any of those wires or anything and that they get in the way. So yeah. One tip, use the chisel tip when you're working on power. Just it tends to keep a little bit more heat and it doesn't lose it quite as quick. Just makes it a little bit easier to solder, and definitely use some high temperature so that way you're not getting those cold solders in your power battery cables. Took me a long time to learn that trick. Fought with rebuilds over and over again before I was finally like, yeah, I'm stupid. Let me use some more heat so that way I'm not fighting this battle. So yeah. And there we have it. We have both of them connected, capacitors in place. They're shiny. I could go in there and do a little bit more and clean them up a little bit, but you know what? They're up there. Those are solid joints. They're not old. So, and yep, definitely made the XT60 a little bit longer. So hopefully that'll work. So had to replace the antenna on my receiver, UFL connector. So literally just popped off what was there, and which was literally just the UFL connector. The actual wire itself had gotten ripped off. So these things are really finicky, and if they're not up there just right, they'll fall off. You know, especially if you crash, they'll come disconnected and you'll watch your RSSI signal just drop. So honestly, what I do when I'm working on it right now, I'm heating up my glue gun. But all I do is just drop a little dab of glue right here across these two connectors. And that just helps it stay. Um, just seems to work out a little bit better, and it seems to hold up in crashes and not lose quite as many antennas. So just something to think about on your builds. So antennas are back in place. I got some hot glue sitting there kind of helping secure everything in. Got the antennas out, and I'll show you guys what I do with them here soon. If you can see the little zip ties, so I just put the little zip ties up there, and then put the antennas to them and throw some heat shrink over it. Works well for me, so it's kind of what I got. So let me put this bottom plate back on so we can continue. So bam, it's kind of what it looks like when it's all done. So you can see I just put the zip ties up there, and I just leave the little tip of the antenna out. And the reason being, just kind of I look for that tip. If it's gone, I know the antenna's got chewed up. I just don't know how far back and what I need to adjust. So yeah, it seems to work out pretty well. I like it. So quad number 1 fixed, have battery up there. Yeah, no smoke. Let's see if she arms. Beautiful. Like it when a plan comes together. So I'll check my video real quick. Yep, no static, no nothing. Awesome. Yeah, very, very good. So did the basic maintenance. I did switch out the antenna, put one of my luminaire axes up there, just because, man, those antennas are freaking phenomenal. So sweet. Let me disconnect battery real quick. So there y'all have it. You know, went through, did some basic maintenance on my Proton. So I don't know if you can see it, but yep, there it is. So went in, replaced the battery lead, put a new XT60 up there, replaced the capacitor, and went through, replaced the antenna off the radio receiver, and put everything back together. One thing I should note, when you guys have everything out and you're going through, and it's just good general maintenance anyway, and should be part of your pre-flight check. Yeah, let me just take that off since I'm done with the video. Yeah, I'm about bald. It's all good. That's why we have hats. But go through and re-tighten up all the screws and nuts and everything on your quad. Just with the vibrations that are generated throughout your flights, and you know the amount of prop wash that we deal with and fight with, and you know things are going to come loose even if you use Loctite. You know, hopefully you're not using the permanent Loctite, you're using the semi-permanent, but things are going to come loose. So it's always a good idea to go in there and check your motor bolts, and you know, just all the frame assembly and all your components, and just make sure everything's good. And the more vibration that you can cut down and reduce, then the less noise that you're going to end up actually having and having to fight with, and issues that you're going to see. So that's quad number 1. I'm going to work on quad number 2 probably later on, just because quad number 2 is my Chameleon, and the way the battery leads are, I literally have to strip down everything off of the frame to be able to get to it. So I'm going to work on that one a little bit later, but when I do, I'll shoot some video up and go from there. So y'all have a good day. Stay safe. Avoid those ghost limbs.